Hey, today I'm going to be discussing two topics from women's lacrosse that I think are significant to the game, and were two important things that took place this year, and also I think are important to look at moving forward. So, if you follow it, the NCAA lacrosse season just ended with Maryland winning the women's national championship. In fact, they won. They did the double. They won both the men's and the women's, becoming the third school ever to do that. They had a great year, undefeated. There were lots of other good teams, so many good games, and talented players this year. But the two issues I wanted to discuss today, and if you are interested in all that, there's plenty of highlights from the games, the full game replays, and also, if you want, I made a couple of recap videos discussing some of the biggest games from the year. You can go back and look at that. The two issues I want to discuss today are number one, the stick drop after goals, and number two, more important, the possession clock or shot clock, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to start with the stick drop after goals. So, obviously, if you are familiar with women's lacrosse, you'll know this, but I'll just very quickly explain it. At the beginning of the game, there's the stick check to make sure that this the pocket is the right size, the depth of it. So that takes place before the game. You'll see all the players line up, and the referee will check them. But then college lacrosse has instituted a new rule where each time a player scores a goal, they drop their stick. The referee picks it up real quick, checks it again, checks the depth of it, and make sure that it's a legal stick. Most of the time, the vast majority of the time, it's a legal stick. I don't know the exact percentage of the time it's ruled an illegal stick. If it is ruled an illegal stick, the goal is disallowed and the other team gets possession. I saw a decent amount of games this year, actually a ton of games, and I only saw it called once the entire time. I don't know how many total calls there were. I don't know if even there is a stat. I don't know where you could find it, but it's very rare. That's not really the issue that I want to talk about, though. The issue is after some goals this year, there were a bunch of players who sort of slammed the stick down or threw it up in celebration or something like that. The thing would compare it to is in football after a player scores, spiking it or some other celebration. The reason I wanted to discuss this in the video, I really don't have a problem with it, to be honest. I like celebrations. I'm a huge soccer fan, and you see that after players score goals in soccer. So it really does not bother me. In terms of the potential negative consequences of it, if you think of baseball, for example, and we just saw this actually, an example of this. Sometimes in the codes of the game, if you hit a home run, for example, you don't flip the bat or have a huge bat flip or throw it or stand and sort of observe the home run. It's a similar thing here in the idea that, let's just say you score a goal and you sort of slam the stick or throw it somewhere. Is that showing up the opponent? For me, like I just mentioned, I don't think so. I will say, though, there were some games that I went to sitting in the stands where, depending who you're sitting around, there were some examples where supporters, parents, fans, whoever of a team, if they got scored against and the other player had a huge sort of stick throw type thing, maybe they took offense to it. Again, I doesn't bother me, and I did not see any examples of any sort of like an argument or fight or anything like that. Nothing even came close to that in my experience. But it is worth mentioning moving forward. It's just interesting to see. A lot of people talk about it. In fact, they talked about it on the TV broadcast for some of the NCAA tournament games. So it's worth considering. Just Maybe do they change it a little bit? Potentially, can the referees issue a penalty if they deem it to be an overly excessive celebration? I don't think that'll ever happen. It's just an interesting thing, though. I thought I wanted to discuss. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts about it, but I haven't really heard too many people discuss it. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, though, because I do think that the rules officials want to make sure that these sticks are legal, and the best way to enforce that is that immediate stick check after a goal. The other interesting thing, actually, is that if you're a player and you make a great pass and assist on a pass, or if you pick up a ground ball, dodge some players, quick pass, your stick doesn't get checked. The person who scored did, but your stick had just as much of a impact on that play as the person who scored, but your stick isn't checked. The only way that your stick would be checked is if the other team requests it, and then there's a whole process where the referees get together and look at it, and it takes a while, blah blah blah. But that's interesting too, is that it's not like the entire team gets checked after each goal. So anyway, I just wanted to be brief with that. Mention that. Let me know if you have any thoughts about that. The second topic that I wanted to discuss is actually the one that's much more important, much more impactful to the game, and has a much greater influence on the outcomes of games, and that is the possession clock. I'll call it a shot clock. Most people would probably know it by a shot clock. Whichever one you prefer. I think the technical term in lacrosse is a possession clock. Whatever you want to call it, it's fine. I'll just call it a shot clock. This was the first year in women's lacrosse that they instituted the shot clock. It's 90 seconds. It starts when possession is gained, and then you have 90 seconds to shoot. And the clock is only reset, of course, after a goal. That makes sense. But it's only reset if the other team clearly gains back possession, then it's reset. Or it's reset if you shoot and the goalie makes a save, and then if you get it back, that resets it back to 90. Or if the ball goes off the pipe, comes back out, that the shooting team picks it back up, the shot clock goes back to 90. So if there's 5 seconds left on the clock, coming in, shoot, ball hits off the pipe, comes right back at you, you get it, shot clock goes back to 90. That's important to note. It does not reset, and this is very important, on a shot that misses the goal. So if 20 seconds left on the shot clock, okay, I'm open, get the ball, shoot. The ball goes 3 feet over the cage, goes out, my team gets the backup, the shot clock stays at 20. It does not reset. It only resets if it deflects off the goalie. For me, personally, watching the games, I loved the shot clock. I thought it made the games infinitely more enjoyable to watch for a million different reasons. Even in the first half, when you would think, okay, maybe the shot clock doesn't matter as much because it's kind of difficult to stall in the first half because you have a whole second half to play. But even in the first half, it just sped things up, and it made the game so much fun to watch. So it made clearing so important, because if you take a long time to clear, you come up, maybe you only have 50, 60 seconds left, and that can really impact how you run your offense. So it made pressing and playing defense, the high press, whatever you want to call that term, higher up the field. It made that, if you could do that, it gave you a huge advantage in games, because even if you don't force a turnover, you impact the other team on their offensive side. So it makes your defending a little bit easier. And then most importantly, in the second half, it gives teams great incentive and great motivation to know that they're really never out of a game. So the other team cannot stall, because they'll get that shot clock expiration after 90 seconds. So if there's 5 minutes left in the game, 5 minutes left in the second half, your team has the ball, you're up by 2 goals. You're feeling good about yourself, but keep in mind, you have to shoot, because if if you take that 90 seconds, yeah, the clock will run down to 3:30 if you do the math there. But then the other team gets the ball, they're only down by 2, 3:30. If they come up and score, let's say they take 30 seconds to score, now they're down by 1 with 3 minutes left. Okay, it's a draw. And if they get the draw, they can tie it up. So that's why I thought the shot clock was so important and such a great addition to the game. Because if you think about it, let's take that scenario I just discussed. If without a shot clock in women's lacrosse, if you're up by 2 goals with 5 minutes left, if you're a good team with good passers, good spacing, good movement, you can kill those 5 minutes. You know, it's not easy, especially if the other team is good on defense, but you can do it if you have that talent. You know, you don't have to shoot. In fact, shooting a goal in that situation without a shot clock can sometimes be a negative, because all you're going to do is have a draw then, and even though you go up by 3, the other team gets possession. They might not, if they have a good girl in the center that can win draws, they might not relinquish possession the rest of the game. They can kind of, now, is that likely? No, it's not. But it is certainly a lot easier to come back when the other team cannot take those long possessions. So those are 2 important topics I just wanted to mention today in women's lacrosse. The stick drop after a goal, and much more importantly, the shot clock, possession clock, 90 seconds. I loved it. I'm assuming they're going to keep it. The nice thing was that every single stadium that I went to, or field, they had on both ends of the field a nice big electronic scoreboard with a shot clock countdown starting at 90 going down. I don't think there was a game that I went to where they didn't have that, so that's helpful. Both teams are aware. Both ends of the field, you look up, it's right there. I thought it was great. So thank you for watching this video. Let me know if you have an opinion on either of those topics, and thanks again for watching.